Oh my god, the Christmas strikes on Nigeria didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. Wow, that's cool. That's great. Wait, are you shocked? Because I'm not shocked. Obviously, like, when the Trump administration decided to shoot some tomahawks at some random villages in Nigeria in the northern parts of the country to try to hit Boko Haram and ended up just hitting some random mosques because the Defense Department's being run by a bunch of, like, crusader LARPing racists. It turns out that when the eyewitness account said, like, yeah, they just hit some mosques and it didn't really do anything, it ended up that it didn't really do anything. And now everything is escalating because of the president's and the current Defense Department, or I honestly, do I even want to call it the Department of War? I mean, they want to do war. They want to just attack a bunch of people. For what purpose exactly? Because they feel like they can, right? And there's no mechanisms to check the United States in terms of its military adventurism. We keep doing the meme specifically about, like, whatever happened to my hecking Areno, pro-peace coalition Areno, like, President Areno? Like, I thought these guys were supposed to be pro-peace. What happened? And now they're just, like, constantly bombing people everywhere. Isn't it, like, there's no point in hypocrisy burning a conservative because they don't care. 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 They don't care, right? Like, they know they're hypocritical and they're okay with being hypocritical. Like, these people don't care about any of that stuff, right? So, again, like I've said before, conservatives are all full of it. They know they're full of it. They're happy about being full of it. So they're just going to continue being completely and utterly full of it. But we have a Bell the Fifth column about all of this. Bell the Ranch. Used to be Bo the Fifth. You know what I mean. Shut up. Apparently there's now U.S. boots on the ground in Nigeria. Now there has been, I believe there's a drone base that operates in Nigeria, I believe, which is why it is of strategic importance to the U.S. and more so financial importance specifically to Trump because Nigeria has a lot of oil. I want that oil, folks. Let me tell you. Liquid gold. It's fantastic, folks. I love fossil fuels. It's my favorite thing. We gotta drill, baby, drill. Despite the fact that solar and China developing all that solar technology and wind turbine technology is currently lapping the United States of America in terms of electricity production, but I digress. Trump is basically a complete, like, troglodyte whose, like, brain is still stuck in the 50s because he has, like, some, return with a V, revanchist sort of, like, idea of wanting to return with a V, with a vengeance, to some idealized past that is just never going to return. But anywho, my so-called pro-peace coalition president is deploying troops, or U.S. boots on the ground in Nigeria. Why don't we take a look?
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about U.S. boots in Nigeria.
Oh boy.
Okay. In a recent video, when I was running down a list of recent events, I mentioned that U.S. forces are now present in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
That led to some surprise, and messages like this. Belle, you can't just drop, hey, we're boots on the ground in Nigeria, in a list of other Trump failures. Can we get some more information on that? That seems important.
I did also hear about that. I'm just like, I'm not surprised that this is the case at all, because Trump basically decides to, he's like a hammer and he sees everything as a nail and decides to, like, hit it with the hammer, right? When this is not the case. Sometimes there's a screw. Sometimes there's a rivet. Sometimes you don't need to hit everything with a hammer, and it's just kind of silly that he's trying to hit everything with a hammer. He's just like, well, if I just bomb first and I ask questions later, then, it'll probably work out. Like, who cares about international law or U.S. law? It doesn't really matter. Just bomb them first, deploy the troops, and we'll take care of the problems later.
Fair enough. The day after Christmas, I released a video going over what we knew about Trump's Christmas Day strikes in Nigeria. That was when Trump launched a number of strikes of questionable effectiveness.
True.
In fact, given the activity in the area since the strikes, they seem to have been a complete failure, if the goal was deterring attacks.
Shocker.
In that video,
Whoa, you're telling me that Boko Haram, the Muslim extremist group, who is more likely to do... Okay, because I always mix this up, right? Boko Haram, I believe they're Sunni extremists, right? They are just as likely to attack Shia villages as they are to attack also Christian villages, because again, they're talking about that Christians are a minority in the country. They're not. They're a majority and have a majority within positions of power as well. Very little Muslim representation within Nigeria. So again, that's silly. It's nonsensical. And that they're the main targets of attack by Boko Haram. That's not the case either. I've not really seen any evidence to point that because, again, all of the Muslims are up in the northern parts of the country. That's where Boko Haram is also operating as well. So guess who's more than likely going to be the first targets of Boko Haram? It's going to be the Shias. Let me just double check to make sure that they are Sunni extremists. What? Boko Haram. Sunni. Are they Sunnis or are they Shias? I always forget. Right? They are Sunnis. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. So yeah, they're more likely, because they are a Sunni extremist group, they are more likely to want to first go after all the Shia villages and Shia practicing Muslims first before trying to go after any Christians. And those are the people that are more likely going to be hit in there in particular. Like, I don't know, man. It's so silly, dude.
Quote, airstrikes alone do not work in these campaigns. Neither does measuring the land occupied by non-state opposition forces. If Trump continues to push the U.S. towards war, he will either have to coordinate closely with host nations or put troops on the ground and commit the U.S. to what would likely be a years-long campaign the American public is unlikely to support. So what's happening? That. He's doing both. Putting boots on the ground to coordinate closely with the host nation.
So, yeah. Like, listen, we talked about the shadow wars in Africa before, like during the Trump administration, or at least Kyle Kalinske has before. Donald Trump oversaw a ton of differing, like, shadow wars within Africa, right? Has done a ton of different drone strikes, mostly coming out of that Nigerian drone base the U.S. has, of differing attacks on, quote-unquote, a bunch of non-state actors within the region. Obviously, it's not really done anything in terms of the civility of the region. Boko Haram, as a sort of non-state group, still exists. There are other non-state groups that also operate within differing areas. Not to mention also Wagner. Wagner's on the ground all over the place in that specific region of like South Africa, in Niger, Burkina Faso, a bunch of differing sort of areas where a bunch of warlords will hire them as like bodyguards and stuff.
General Anderson described it as, quote, that has led to increased collaboration between our nations, to include a small U.S. team that brings some unique capabilities from the United States, in order to augment what Nigeria has been doing for several years. I'd like a little side note here that points out that when Trump undertook this campaign, he was so ill-informed about the situation that he was blaming the government that has been countering the force for several years.
Whoa, you're telling me, Belle, that Donald Trump, if he doesn't have, like, I don't know, some, like, jingling keys and, like, some bright pictures about it, he has, like, no idea what's, like, going on in any other region of the world? He barely even understands what's going on in front of him half the time because his brain is leaking out of his ears.
So, what do we know about the team? Not a whole lot yet. There's some unique phrasing in the public statements. Mainly, that they are being described as officers rather than just soldiers. That's weird.
That is
weird. There's a couple of possible explanations for that. But it suggests this is high-level strategic advisors, or... Yeah,
I was about to say, are they going to, like, train a bunch of dudes there or something? They're sending dudes to train, like, a bunch of, like, locals and, like, counterinsurgency tactics or something, I guess? Like, is that what they're going to do? Because these guys aren't going to be mercenaries, right? Like, are they? Because they could hire a bunch of, like, I don't know, like, Blackwater dudes or something in order to, like, go in there and try to take out the terrorists or whatever. We all know that doesn't actually work all that well. Like, Afghanistan, the perfect example. Guess who ended up winning the war in Afghanistan? Oh, it was the Taliban. Like, the U.S. ended up leaving. So, like, again, it's nonsense.
Very, very special guys. Maybe a combination of both.
Very special.
Other statements suggest they're also helping with training. That sounds like a job for third group. But there is no confirmation that it's the Bushmen yet, and they wouldn't only send officers. It's also possible that the spokespeople don't actually know what's going on. So, they're saying things that don't actually reflect what's happening.
Yeah, this could all still be classified, right? That's also a pretty good point, right? Like, we could just have, like, absolutely no idea what's, like, going on. It could just be, like, random bullshit. Like, they're just, like, throwing a bunch of shit at the wall to be like, yeah, you know, like, we've been kind of briefed on, like, what's going on, but we don't know 100% exactly. Because, again, this administration's not known exactly for being Very, very transparent, even though they keep saying that they are. Like, again, Epstein files still aren't released. Whatever happened to my Heckin' transparent Reno? Like, it's obviously a bunch of hooey, it's a bunch of poppycock, it's a bunch of bullshit. Like, these people are not going to disclose what exactly is happening because they're just simply put not interested in disclosing what's happening. Like, we all know with the Signal group chat leaks that happened at this point, like, last year or something, that they are willing to just break the law and skirt the law in order to just be like, you know what? We feel like the American people should not actually know about the actions of the executive, and we're just going to do some random bombing campaigns of, like, the Houthis in secret. Because we just basically want to do a bunch of illegal shit without anyone knowing about it.
On the ground. Both U.S. and Nigerian officials have indicated the U.S. forces are non-combat troops. I sure hope they told the opposition that, because in this kind of fighting, they're kind of the ones who actually determine whether or not they end up in combat.
No, it's kind of true.
Right now, the troops are just there as advisors for the host nation's operations. But there is significant risk of mission creep. It's important to remember that the U.S. has a long history of moving from inserting advisors to those advisors calling in air support directly to then full troop commitments.
Afghanistan, this is the exact same shit that happened there, right? And Iraq as well, right? Like, Al-Qaeda, again, Iraq requested help in order to take care of Al-Qaeda insurgencies in the western parts of the country, right? And obviously, forces have been deployed from, like, you know, Saudi Arabian air bases and Israeli air bases in order to bomb Al-Qaeda, right? That's a thing that's happened. And then eventually, Desert Storm 2, Electric Boogaloo happens.
This is high risk here, because the U.S. is engaging the same opposition group in other countries.
True.
Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.
So obviously, as expected, my so-called hacking pro-peace coalition Reno of Republicans were, I don't know, lying again. It's always like, with Republican voters specifically, it's always going to be a fell for it again award. Like, oh, here you go, yet another one for you. And I mean, you know, it's the cult. We've seen the video specifically by Evie for us to why this is exactly the case. Why they all fell for it again, because they felt like Trump was the guy that was, like, speaking towards them because of Democrats being a bunch of elitist pricks, obviously. But we all know that it was always a lie, and the so-called hacking pro-peace coalition of J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and all these, like, neocon, like, wannabes, as soon as, like, all the populism doesn't work, or they use the populism or to get into power, it's time to immediately do all the neoconservative, like, warmongering, fascistic nonsense. Yet again, for what purpose exactly? Just to try to, like, go around and just bomb a bunch of people instead of exerting soft power, which was working in the region, to do a bunch of, well, hard power instead, because that's the macho man thing to do, and not the, I don't know, like, pussy, liberal, like, a soft power thing, like giving a bunch of aid to people to not have to rely on the terrorist organization for some form of protection. It's silly, it's nonsensical, and this campaign that is going to be, if more is known about it, and Trump decides to brag about it, is not going to work out in the way that the administration thinks that it is. So much for my hacking pro-peace coalition of Marco Rubio, Stephen Miller's, Donald Trump, and Pete Hegseth, because they just want to go around and just bomb a bunch of people and just, I don't know, tell all of their, like, lemming-like supporters that actually we just had to bomb these people because we had to, and you're gonna like it, and, like, the NPC is gonna take out their chip from the back of their mind of the current culture war sort of talking point, and then talk about, like, actually we like war and war is good, even though we pretended to be anti-war the whole time. It's nonsense. It's stupid. Same thing happened in Venezuela and Iran as well. It's all bullshit. It's all grifting. It's all a bunch of lies. We all know this. But anyway, don't think there's really much else to say besides, so much for my hacking pro-peace coalition. It's always been a lie, and Trump is actually a really big fan of war.